What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Revived, episode number 25. We are 1/4 of the way to 100 episodes. I am your host, as always, Shane Craig, and joining me is the lovely Jesse Craig.
Merry Chrysler.
Merry Chrysler to you as well. If you don't know, Podcast Revived is where we share our love of tech, gaming, nerd culture, etc., etc. With all of you lovely people, we record every week on YouTube, on Saturdays, on all the various podcast platforms like iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, etc., on the following day, on the Sunday. Be sure to leave a like or a rating wherever you may be listening or watching. That does help the algorithm, helps more people get eyes on our content. I guess the biggest thing I want to say before we get started is we are recording this actually on Christmas Day. You will be actually receiving this on the following Saturday, which is tomorrow, the 26th, or on the 27th if you're listening in the podcast form. So happy, merry, belated Christmas, or whatever holiday you do celebrate, be it Christmas, Hanukkah, all the other ones, which I don't know. I hope you had a good one. Whatever the holidays you celebrate. I want to
Happy holidays.
There you go. Happy holidays. The all-encompassing holidays. People get mad about that, though, right? You're supposed to say Merry Christmas. Don't say Happy Holidays, you know? Xmas. You're gonna put...
Those are the kind of people I don't care too much about.
Happy holidays. So I want to start off here by, let's kind of get nostalgic here and let's reminisce a little bit. Growing up, and I'm sure you were the same. Growing up, you know, Christmas was a much bigger deal then than it is now. Now Christmas is not, it's like birthdays. Like, they don't really mean a lot to me. I enjoy, we enjoy giving gifts to the younger family members, nieces, nephews, siblings. Watching them get excited is always still fun. But I can't say that my level of excitement is the same as it was when I was a kid. When, now, like, if I want, to go, I don't know, go buy a set of headphones, I can just go buy a set of headphones. Whereas when I was 10 and I wanted something, Christmas or birthdays was like kind of that's kind of the horse you bet your money on, like that was your best shot at getting what you wanted. So, right. Do you have any Christmas memories that come to mind? A Christmas where you asked for something and you got it, and you just think back about those happy Christmas days.
Yeah, I have a few. I don't remember many that just like totally blew me away. I mean, they were always really good. My mom did a really good job, especially as a single mom, kind of making sure that we always felt like we were having a huge Christmas. One year, though, I think probably as far as, just my interests, which were gaming, like that was always my interest growing up. I had received a GameCube from my aunt along with a few other games, and that was supposed to kind of be like a really big thank you gift because I had babysat for her like, I want to say like 2 summers in a row. Like, I just totally gave up 2 summers and spent a lot of time over there babysitting and hanging out with my cousins, and she really wanted to say thank you. And not only did she get me a GameCube, she also bought me my own TV because I didn't have one, so that I could have something that was mine in my room, and I didn't have to wait until everybody else was done with the TV in the living room. Like, I could just play as much as I wanted. Right. So that was a really big one for me. And then after that, my mom and my uncle got me a PS3 the year that I graduated high school, and I was really excited about that. I also asked them for, I think I asked them for a Rock Band, but I got Band Hero instead, which was like, I didn't care. I was like, whatever, this is awesome, but it's still kind of comical. So that was a pretty good Christmas because I got Tomb Raider Underworld and hadn't played a new Tomb Raider game since PlayStation era, and I still had my PlayStation at that time too. So it's just a really good, it was a good holiday. I had a wonderful time playing Band Hero and Tomb Raider, and just I look back at that as being probably like the most chill Christmas I had, even though I had mono and felt like I was dying. It was great. It
Yeah.
was pretty good.
Yeah, those are always like I remember growing up, we didn't have a ton of money growing up either. And I remember one Christmas getting the N64, and that was a big one. It had the purple see-through controller. Am I remembering that correctly? That
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Yeah, the purple controller pulling up yeah, 100%. Had the purpley see-through controller. I remember that was super exciting. And then I
Was the whole
remember
console see-through or just the
no,
controller?
just the controller was like a purple see-through kind of thing, which was really, really cool.
What color was your console?
It was just black, just a black console. And I remember being really excited about that. But I think when I think about Christmas memories, like things that really got me excited, I think that the one that stands out the most to me is still the year that I got the PSP. After me and my mom and my younger sister had gotten into, things had stabilized. We got into a new house and everything. Mom would always complain because I was really bad about, she'd be like, what do you want for Christmas? And I was aware that like we didn't have like a lot of money. So I'd be like, nothing, just whatever is fine. I don't want to ask for anything expensive because then I'd be like, I don't want you to spend a bunch of money on me, And she was like, look, like things are okay right now. Like we have I can get you something. Like, what do you want? And then finally I was like, well, look, there's one thing that I really want. It just came out and I really want a PSP. Like that was what I wanted. The original fat PSP. And, I was like, okay, like I'll ask for the PSP, but like I'm not going to get the thing, like that's not going to happen. It's too expensive. I think at the time it was like $300 or something like that. So like I was like,
Don't you still have that one?
I don't have the original one anymore.
But you have the second one.
I've got the slider, the PSP Go. I still have. It's like $250 or something like that. It was expensive. To me, in that moment, it was like way more than could ever be expected. Sorry, the dog's scratching himself behind me and thumping the floor quite loudly. Hey, could you stop, buddy? Thanks. So
so defeated. He looks so sad.
Just hear thump, 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 thump behind me. So I asked for the PSP and I was like, man, at the time, that thing was like, it was so cool. The screen looked so good. It was like, in my mind, it was like, you've got the DS, which was cool, but then the PSP was like the super premium, like techie kind of, it just seems so much cooler to me. No slight to the DS. I had a DS later on too and loved my DS. The DS Lite's incredible, but the PSP just had an allure to it, It seemed unattainable to me. And I remember she got me the PSP, but what she did, she got me the PSP and she got me the first SOCOM game for the PSP because I loved SOCOM.
Oh, wow.
And she took the game and because it's like in like a little thing, like you could tell what it was going to be because like what else is going to be that shape and size. So she wanted to keep it a secret from, I was probably like 16, I think. So she wanted to keep it a secret, which is silly, but whatever. And she took the SOCOM and she wrapped it up in the wrapping paper with it was like a shoe, like a high heel shoe or something like that to try and like throw me off the scent. It didn't work because it clearly felt like a game with a shoe next to it. Like that's what I was like, Mom, this is clearly just a game and a shoe. I don't know what
That's so funny.
you expected to confuse me there.
Funny.
And I think maybe she put the PSP like in like a bigger box or something to try to throw me off there too. But yeah, oh man, like I remember opening that thing up and I didn't give a crap about what the other gifts were. I did not. I mean, and I told her this, like, if you get me a PSP, don't get me anything else. I'm not going to pay any attention to anything else you get me. And that was like, so
you're just mourning her.
That was so huge though. Like we had never, like the N64 was like for everybody, the PSP was like expensive and premium and it was mine. I could finally have, and it was new. The N64, like we got it like after it been out for a while. It was such
Yeah.
a like huge thing for me. It was like I was just so happy. And I just remember like it came with like a disc, like a UMD that had like a bunch of like it had like 2 or 3 like music videos and like maybe like a couple of movie trailers and maybe like a game demo or something to be like, here's all the things your PSP can do. And I just remember being so excited. Like the screen looked so good, which now it would look like crap. But at the time it looked so good, you know, like watching the Spider-Man trailer and it just looked incredible. I was just so excited. I don't think mom understood like why I was so excited about this thing, but like I was jacked up about that PSP. And I was hooked on that thing for like a long time. I got into the PSP hacking scene, custom firmware, emulators. Like I love that
It's in
thing.
the hacking scene.
Oh man, like I remember when that thing came out. So the 1.0 firmware, people had hacked it where you could run custom, unsigned code is what it would be called, like non-Sony code. Well, then they patched it. And there were rumors. You would go as a website called it's like dcemu.co.uk or something like that. It was like originally like as a Dreamcast hacking website, it was a forum, but that's where everybody was at. All the different hackers, that's where they were at. It was such a cool time because then there were rumors they'd updated it to the 1.50. I can still remember this shit pretty vividly. And it was like there were rumors like, oh, if you're on 1.5, don't update when 1.51 comes out because there's a new exploit that's in 1.5. We found a new exploit to get it to run unsigned code. But if you update past 1.5, it won't work on you anymore. When we get this done, you'll be out of luck. I had updated to 1.5 and I stayed there. It's like, okay, cool. And then they released this packet of files. And what you would do is one of them was that you would drag it onto your PSP, plug it in your computer, drag them onto your PSP, put everything in the right directory. And then one of the files was an image in a format called TIFF. It's a really uncommon image format. But this image was set up in such a way that it would cause like a memory overflow exploit. And so you'd view this image and it would basically briefly open up the PSP where you could inject your own code and it would run it because there was just a hole there. And it was like, okay, like, you know, this could brick your console. Like we're going to like flash, you know, not a full custom firmware, but basically flash something in there that would allow you to just keep that open and use it to run emulators and shit. But it was like if it got screwed up in the middle, you just brick your console. It's dead at that point. And I remember being so freaking nervous, but I wanted to do it. I wanted to do this so bad. It was so cool. And I was like, man, if I break this thing, my mom finds out that I destroyed this console, she's going to be so mad at me. But it went good. It went okay. It went through, like you loaded the image, the screen like went red and then green and then like some text popped up and you hit X and it does the thing and then you're running emulators and shit. And it was so cool. It's still such a cool machine for emulators because the buttons are just great. Super Nintendo and stuff like that is still awesome on there. It was like life-changing for me getting that PSP. And then later on, not to go too far down the rabbit hole in this, but later on, they found an even bigger exploit where they figured out somebody sent their PSP back to be looked at by Sony to be fixed. And when they sent it back, it had a weird battery in it. And people then figured out that's the way that they would take a bricked PSP and fix it, there was a thing where they had a special battery that would basically put the PSP into a mode where it would accept anything. And they could reflash it that way. And these fucking hackers reverse engineered this shit. And if you had the original PSP with an original battery, you could make your own like ripped off version of their battery that they could flash. They called it Pandora's battery.
Oh my
because
God.
it opened up all these you could now, it didn't matter what firmware you were on, if that battery would fit, if it was an original PSP and that battery would, or even I think the Slim, it would still fit in the Slim. You could pop that battery in, pop in a memory stick with the files on it, and you could flash anybody's PSP to custom firmware from any previous firmware. I literally had an ad on Craigslist where I was charging people in Knoxville like $50 a pop. Take me 5 minutes, pop in the battery, pop in the memory stick, here's your custom firmware PSP back, $50 for me, and I was on my way. I was like, I did this like.
So people were
paying
responding
me
to those ads?
Yeah, it was awesome. It was so cool.
I didn't know about you.
I hadn't thought about it in many, many years. But yeah, that would totally happen. I would get like my mom or somebody that didn't even understand what the hell was happening. But I was like, hey, can you take me to like the Walmart parking lot? I need to go. I'm going to make $50 real quick. Like they didn't know fully what I was doing. People, I mean, you could like download games and play them. Like when I say download games, I mean, you could pirate games and play them that way. Like it opened up, you could do anything.
So you're just like over in this parking lot and you're like,
pop in a battery, pop in a memory stick, get some buttons, and here you go. Freshly.
And then your mom is like, "Oh my God, what is he doing? How is he making $50 in the car?"
It was I imagine it was confusing for her, but she trusted me. She trusted me. And
you
it was
want
always
me to take you to Walmart to make $50?
It's just a one-time deal with a guy in a parking lot. Like it's no big deal. Don't worry about it. You know. It was always like other like people my age, I was like 17 or something, 16, 17. So I didn't have a car yet. We were still, we had the money to buy a PSP, but I didn't have car money at that point. 16, I was learning to drive. So, yeah, I didn't have my own vehicle at that point.
That's so funny. That's really good. I actually didn't know about that.
That is like when I think about like good Christmas memories, the PSP is like, it has a very strong... And that's held through to all the different. I had the PSP, I had the Slim, I had the Go, and then I got the Vita. And I will always love those handhelds. They mean something special to me because they almost signify a transitionary time in my life, going from the way things were, which was not great, to the way things are, which is considerably better. It was that was a moment in my life of like, we're going to be okay. My mom just bought me this PSP. We're going to be all right. Yeah. And it will always hold that kind of importance to me, I guess.
That's beautiful.
It's quite nice, I think. But now Christmas is just like, like this year I think was okay. Like we got a couple of things that we were like, oh, that's neat. But a lot of Christmases are like, okay, thanks. And you're just more excited about giving the kids, like giving my little brother my PS4 is like, that's cool.
Yeah. I'm definitely, I don't care for taking things from people because it always makes me feel like people are so much better at getting me things than I am at getting them things. Like nothing I get for people feels like it's ever like enough, I do feel like we are setting up kids for a lot of disappointment because I remember growing up, like, being disappointed that after I hit a certain age, people quit giving a shit about, like, making a big deal out of holidays and stuff, but that's just getting older. I definitely, a lot of my best Christmases revolved around gaming, and I think it's because my family always participated. I want to say, too, that I got my PS1. Well, it wasn't mine. It was mine and my sister's and my mom's. I think we got our PS1. God, I'm shaking the crap out of my desk. When we moved to Tennessee in 98, I think. Maybe that Christmas. It probably was that Christmas. I vaguely remember that, though. And that was obviously a really good one because we played the crap out of that system all together, too. So.
Yeah. It's fun to have those memories from your childhood. Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about something else that happened over the last few days. If you maybe some people maybe didn't notice or weren't aware of this, but several days ago we had something called the Great Conjunction, which is where Saturn and Jupiter become very close together. And so obviously a lot of people were taking pictures of this event. And granted, some people, with proper optical zoom and these sorts of things took very good pictures. But we took the opportunity to go outside and kind of mess around with the different phones that we had and see what kind of shots we could get. Like we literally put together like a tripod. Like I got a little just basic tripod and took the actual phone grippy bit off, and you can actually see, I think behind me, sticking up right there is a actual, like a full-on like professional photographer tripod. We attached this to it, took it out there, got up on the balcony of the house, and took some pictures of the event. And I think that were you surprised at how well that was able, that these phones work in terms of being able to take a picture of something like that? Because I was quite pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, the final two shots that you got of the what are they calling it? The what is it called on the Pixel?
Using the
not night sight.
The astrophotography mode.
Astrophotography. I was having a stroke there. I was gonna say astral projection.
Yeah, where you astro project yourself. Sure.
We're doing that now. Astrophotography mode. I feel like those were some legitimately awesome pictures for a phone. I wasn't really like blown away by any of the other ones we took on the different modes.
Well, trying to actually
I guess they've gotten better, but
trying to actually zoom in on the thing was asking a lot for. Like, I tried my OnePlus phone that has a 3x optical zoom, but the other ones were the 2 pixels. If you're wondering if I attempted to take any of these pictures with my Surface Duo, I did not, because I am not a masochist. I didn't even consider using the Duo. I went straight to the pixels because that made way more sense. But the pictures you actually got of, Jupiter and Saturn, you could definitely tell, hey, there's 2 really bright things in the sky right next to each other.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Granted, some people were able to take these crazy damn pictures with, like, you could see the freaking rings of Saturn and crap, but we don't have that. We just have a couple
right
of
now,
normal phones.
if we had anything telescoping, it would have been a little bit easier. Like, I took an astronomy class in the very brief time I was in college, and we used to just like put our cell phone, and by the way, our cell phones were like garbage back then, put our cell phones like on the viewfinder of the telescope and take a really good picture of the moon. Like, we could have probably done something like that, but
yeah,
we don't have any of those telescopes.
Yeah, some of the pictures people took that you can pull up on like Twitter and stuff.
Man, they're awesome.
Absolute madness.
Yeah,
absolute
and they're
madness.
beautiful too.
It's so cool. You can actually see the different moons of Jupiter as well. It's just wild. But talking about the astrophotography mode, which, I was even on the Pixel 3, like, it's pretty good. Like, it really surprises me how good these pictures actually are. And then when we started using, the Pixel 5 that you have, I feel like it was
got even crazier.
Yeah, I feel like it was even up another notch in terms of just how much it was picking up. Really, really neat.
Yeah, it's one of those that, like, when you first look at the picture, if you're not paying attention, you're like, what is this? And then you start to zoom in, and I was seeing like different like there are tons of constellations you could see on there. And then also what was really cool was there was one specific cluster, and you pull it up and it looks like another fucking galaxy. And I'm like, this shit's getting so crazy now that me and you can just go outside
with our phone
and with our phones and take these kinds of photos. Now when you zoom in, they just look like specks of light. Like, they don't look that crazy or anything, but it's still insane that you can zoom in and see all these different stars. It's awesome. I mean, it's just going to get better.
And then considering that, I mean, in particular on the Pixel devices, we're not talking about, some of these other people are using, these super duper zoom lenses or 108 megapixel cameras. The Pixel's camera is just a 12.2 megapixel, Sony IMX
Yeah, it's just
sensor.
a basic camera.
It's nothing that crazy. It's all just done with AI and with, and it's really impressive. I do, there's one thing I wish that the Duo did better. It's, it's a combination of photography and not flipping screens back and forth in phone mode. Although I did take a few pictures this morning with the duo. We had like 4 inches of snow in Knoxville last night, which is crazy.
So I keep looking outside. I'm hearing people driving by. I'm
Yeah.
expecting them to like slide down the hill.
Just crash. We don't do this well here, but I mean, like it took
I do it perfectly.
in really bright light like this. I'm using the Gcam Go port, but in really bright light, which is very bright outside this morning because everything's pasty white and reflective. The duo, it did pretty admirably actually. Like I said, I really, want to emphasize that it really doesn't snow here. Like we really don't, we really don't get this kind of snow or weather in Knoxville. I think the last time it was a white Christmas, like I don't even know. The last time we had 4 inches of snow on the ground is difficult for me to remember.
Well, I mean, the last time, what's really interesting about this is the last time I remember having snow for Christmas was the year I got my PS3. And it was 2011. We had a little bit, just a small snowstorm, I would call it, but that's the last time I can remember. We call this the Snowpocalypse here.
Yeah, you get 4 inches of snow on the ground, and to make it worse, they're only calling for like a dusting in this area, an inch in the mountains, not 4 in the valley. So we were not prepared, and we're bad enough. These people around here, look, I drive a rear-wheel drive lightweight sports car. Jesse drives a front-wheel drive lightweight 2-door sporty kind of car. This is not like a thing for us here. Like when there's 4 inches of snow on the ground, we just don't go anywhere. Like we're just stuck because it's not like people
they
stranded.
Usually will close places down, and I gotta say I'm actually pretty proud of myself because the first time I ever had to drive in snow, I wrecked my car that I loved dearly, and it was a nightmare. And every time that I've had to drive in snow since then, I've only gotten better. And last night I had to make a pretty sketchy drive back home from work, and I'm pretty proud of myself. I did a great job. No one else did a great job, but I did. So
people around here don't understand how snow works. They get very freaked out and scared. You've had your Pixel 5 for quite a while now. Do you ever find yourself, does it ever leave you wanting in terms of the photography? Is there anything about it?
Yeah, there are some things that kind of get on my nerves a little bit. There's something I've been noticing a lot with the night sight that I don't remember having on the previous versions of the camera, where there's a lot of softening and pixelation. It's really, I don't know how to explain it, but like before you would get this really crisp, sharp picture, but it would have a little bit of static. Like that was fine, It was like if you took the
noise is what you're talking about. Like if you're taking you get a little bit of noise going on there.
Yeah, and I got pretty used to that on the Pixel 3, but now it's almost like they're doing like a softening on the solid colors. Like I took a ton of pictures last night outside, and anytime it detects you're in the dark, it'll use the night sight, which I use anyways. And what I noticed was, like on large patches of snow, you would almost see like the details were like smeared, almost like colors get smeared a little bit. And that's something that's new. That didn't happen as much on the original the Pixel 3 that I was using with an older version of Night Sight, which is fine because it's not going to be perfect because we're asking a lot on the kind of camera that it is. Well, it is a little irritating.
You're trying to find the balance where you have to denoise in low light, but you don't want to.
I guess that's what they're doing.
You don't want to denoise to the point of looking super smoothed over, like.
Yeah, it almost looks like Facetune, but for like everything.
Yeah, like this is kind of a weird thing to relate it to, but like when you look at some of the older television shows that get remastered, when they're shot on film has film grain. So they run, a lot of times they'll run a denoising filter. And if you do it right, it looks good. But if you do it wrong, everything just gets a plasticky, dull kind of look to it. And if you're
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Probably a little bit over aggressive denoising. Other than that, you know, I feel like that's kind of always been the calling card of the Pixels is just that you can, it's reliable.
It is reliable.
You know,
I don't.
you're generally going to take a picture once and it's going to be a good picture. You don't have to take it
Yeah,
2, 3, 4 times.
yeah, that's one thing I do like. And as far as that goes, I mean, like for me, it's perfectly fine. Speakers are good, fits in my hand. I see a lot of people at work with the new Note, whatever the fuck they are now, whatever number they are. There
20.
was a guy last night, you Note 20, I think that's what he had, and he handed it to me, and it was like that big. And I was like, dude, this phone is huge.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, it's a Note 20. And I'm like, my phone like fits in my hand, my
Yeah.
baby hand.
Yeah.
And like for me, like that's like a pretty positive feature, but I guess for some people they're like, no, that's horrible.
You know,
So,
big tech YouTuber Marquez Brownlee, MKBHD, he just had his smartphone awards, and I believe he gave the Note 20 Ultra his phone of the year.
I mean, it was a pretty epic phone. Like it's the screen was beautiful. I
Yeah.
basically had someone's phone because I was doing like I was picking up an online order for somebody. So they gave me their barcode on their phone.
Yeah.
And I'm just like holding it and I'm like, oh my God, first of all, it's huge. But like the screen is like really pretty. And he's like, yeah, it takes some amazing photos, which I haven't looked into any of the photos they take because I don't care I'm unlike you in certain ways. I don't care about other phones that I'm not using myself unless they just blow my mind, you know? So I'm pretty focused on what I'm using my phone for, but I imagine not only does his phone probably take really great photos, it probably displays them even better, you know?
Yeah, I mean the biggest thing that you got with the Note 20 Ultra, you've got a 12 megapixel ultra wide, which is fine. You've got a 12 megapixel telephoto that's the periscope style. You probably didn't notice, but the back camera on the back of the telephoto, one of the camera lenses is square. It literally is the light's going in the phone and then reflecting down the body in through a couple of lenses, and which is
pretty cool to have on a phone.
it's very cool. And then you've got a 108 megapixel wide angle lens. So that's kind of their claim to fame is that Sony 10, I think it's a Sony. It's a 108 megapixel camera, which there are some problems with it at launch with some issues with it focus hunting, but I think it's generally all kind of taken care of. But yeah, I mean, having a 108 megapixel camera on a phone is insane. But I mean, if you held the thing, I'm sure you noticed the enormous camera bump. The camera bump is almost as thick as the Surface Duo is, and it's the whole phone. Some people talk about, oh, why doesn't the Duo have a better camera? It's like, well, because cameras add thickness, and this is the size of a camera bump itself. Like, you can't have a 48 megapixel camera in there. It just doesn't work that way. They're too big.
Yeah.
So I think it's a very cool phone. I think it's a little bit big for me. You know, when I tried to use my OnePlus 7 Pro for a while, I was like, good God, this thing is it's just enormous. But
this phone is bigger than that.
yeah, it's a very large, very, very large phone. And then you've got their space zoom 100x, you know, which is nonsense. Like, yeah, you can zoom in 100 times, but it's going to be a blurry mess at 100. Like, no, that's not a thing. But you know, at like 10x,
but I can do it though.
at 10x, it probably looks really pretty solid and better than a lot of stuff on the market would look. But at 100, it's going to look like a blurry mess. Do you want to? I know we're not quite to our normal length. Do you want to talk about a couple or one of the games you've been playing here lately? I know you've had the new Stardew Valley update. You want to kind of talk about what's been added to that? If you've been enjoying that update?
I have been enjoying it. I haven't played Stardew Valley in a pretty long time. I think I hopped back on when they did the last update, which was 1.4, which added a lot of new in-game content, a few more plants, just, you know, like things that made the game easier. But the 1.5 has probably been the best update that they've done since, I mean, the early beginning of the game.
Wow.
Concerned Ape or Eric Barone, Barone?
Sure.
However you say his name, the creator of Stardew Valley, like, I swear to God, every year when they do the Labor of Love award for games on Steam and what else, he needs to win it every single time. The guy has been updating this game for free for years. The fan base is gigantic. Everybody is always so excited for the next update. He's adding on more content so that the game can keep going. It's fabulous. He added a new farm on there. It's a beach farm, which I love. So you've got a little place for farming. You can farm on the sand, but like some of your tools won't work on the sand, like sprinklers won't work. So it's like there is a little bit of realism there too. But the new farm is beautiful. He's added in game content, which I haven't looked yet because I started a new save file. I really wanted to get on that beach farm. Apparently, he added a new location in the game. So there's like an island that you can go to through one of the main characters or one of the NPCs. You can go on one of his boats and go to this volcanic island, and there's a whole new quest there. Like, there's all kinds of crap. They added the ability to sit in chairs, which seems really silly, but that's something that like everybody's been asking for, because you can decorate your house and have all these different chairs, and you can't ever sit next to NPCs on the bench or whatever. Now you can sit anywhere. You sit on a bar stool next to my favorite NPC, which is Shane, Virtual Shane. He's a great character. He's much like you. It's just there's so much in there too that I haven't even seen yet, and a lot of people haven't seen. Like, he'll drop these little Easter eggs in his screenshots, like, hey, here's, a screenshot of what we have working on for this update, and the obvious thing you see is the beach farm. Then you see that there's a character sitting in a chair, and you're like, holy fuck, you can sit in a chair. Holy fuck, there's a beach farm. And then, like, off in the corner, you'll see something else that's, like, not even, like, totally, like, no one's saying, look at that right there, but it'll be something up there, like, I don't know, just anything else that's out of the ordinary, like a new piece of furniture or something. Like, there's always this, he likes to add a little bit of mystery in it. And I've been enjoying it because, for me, that's a game I love. But after I pretty much, maxed out all my relationships and started making a pretty decent living off of my farm, I got a little bit bored, because it starts to be like an everyday grind thing. And I don't play with mods, so I'm just playing, the vanilla game. And when he adds the stuff in there, it's like it creates a whole other level for me. I can go back in now and start a new save file and have this new challenge of how am I going to make a pretty big living on a farm where half the time, I can't use sprinklers, which makes it more difficult. So am I going to use other forms to make money, or am I going to fish this time more around because I can get fish on my farm that are profitable? It's awesome. I love it. I love that fucking game. I love Graveyard Keeper too, which is really similar to it, but the biggest difference to me is that every update that has come on Graveyard Keeper, they've sold as a DLC. It shouldn't have been a DLC, but they're making money off of it. All of the updates to Stardew Valley have been free, which means he's basically working for hours and hours and hours for free. How much better does it get,
It's kind of crazy that they're not charging, for these updates. That is quite surprising.
And then on top of that, he's been working on another game for a while too. We don't know anything about the new game because he's given us free content for Stardew Valley so we can keep enjoying that, but he's also been working on this other game for years. Yeah. It's just madness. Yeah.
Pretty cool. I'm glad you're enjoying that new update and having a reason to go back into that game after all the time you've put into it. It still manages to be interesting and engaging after all this time.
Oh my God, yeah.
Well, guys, I think that brings us to the end of this episode. Head over to scaryifliteral.com as usual for all the links to YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, etc. Be sure to definitely follow us on Twitter at scaryifliteral. You can also support the show through a couple of links there. In fact, before I go any further, we have had a couple of donors, which I want to call out here real quick. Lee, I'm not going to say my last names, but Lee, I'm sorry, not Lee, Les. Thank you so much for your donation. Adam, Michael, all three of you lovely people have donated to our channel, and I am very grateful for that. So thank you for doing that. Like I said, if you go to scaryflowdrill.com, there is a link there for you to do the same if you feel the need to do so. You can also hit that join button down there and commit to giving us $2 a month, and that will also go straight to us. We want to start doing stuff down the line for members who have joined. Once we get enough to make it something that makes any sense, we will definitely be doing more of that kind of stuff. So plenty of ways to support the show if you do want to do so, and any little bit helps for sure. So thanks again to all of you people that have followed us, that listen to what we have to say, subscribe, and all those lovely things. And thank you for joining me today, Jesse. My name is Shane. This was Podcast Revived, and until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.